Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is January 5th, 2021, and this is episode 171. Today we're going to take a look at the Eternals. This is from Marvel. It's issue number 1, and it comes in at a whopping $4.99. What can I say? Start with the cover here. Really nice cover showing all this blast in the middle, and we've got Icarus here on the outside. Now, I'm not real familiar with the Eternals. I know it's going to be a movie in 2020, at the end of this year, I think, maybe November 2021, somewhere around there. I'm assuming they already started it. I didn't know a lot about it, but this scene here does not take place in this book. There is a portal change and just Icarus going through and back and forth, but this particular scene does not occur. I didn't know a lot about the Eternals at all. I had to go read up about it. I was thinking it was something Jack Kirby did, and I go, no, it couldn't have been Jack Kirby. That was New Gods. But it turns out, after he left DC working on the New Gods, he came to Marvel and worked and created the Eternals. Now, the Eternals has come back and forth over the decades. He created it in the mid '70s, and I think the latest incarnation was 2006, if I'm not mistaken. But it's got a cast of characters that could rival Lord of the Rings, basically. And I was a little shaky on that. Now, this is a not recommend on this. If this was the movie script, that movie's going to be a dud, in my opinion. I know whenever I give Marvel Comics a rough time, I get some dislikes, but I'm just trying to be honest with you what I saw in this. The art in it is pretty good. It's spectacular at times, pretty stunning. The story itself is a little drawn out. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think maybe if I had read every single Eternals coming up to this, it might make sense. But these are kind of immortal beings that they get killed off, and I guess they come back again and again and again. And each time they're changed a little bit different. And they have some memories. They have some premonitions. They have things that they actually didn't experience that happened back in the time that they were moving around. So it's kind of a mixed bag here. Let's take a quick look at it. Kieran Gillen is the writer on it. Let's see if I can find. Here we go. Let's go right to the title page here. Kieran Gillen is the writer on it. Esad Ribic did the great job on the art on here. Matthew Wilson, I've got to pick a bone to pick with him a little bit on this. So if you can see, this is kind of hard to read, this teal on black. The narration actually takes place on that, and the same kind of setup here. And these different places, Olympia, Polaria, the Exclusion, etc., these are all different places in, I guess, ancient Earth, but they also transfer to current Earth. And we can kind of I'll show another drawing of that one, if I can find it right off. Here you go, they call it the machine, and they're talking about the Earth, and these are the parts: Titanus, Oceania, Celestia, the Exclusion, which is this 6 molecules in the South Pole, Polaria, which is I'm assuming up in the North Pole, and Olympia, which is basically the Greek civilization area. But like I said, the story is a bit confusing. It is a not recommend. It's very slow at the beginning. You can take a look at this narration, the way it's done, the lettering. I really did not like it. It's hard to read, and I know they were going for effect here, but even this is easier to read than that, So I think if they would have went with a better contrast, maybe orange lettering, it would have really popped. It would have shown up a little bit better. That said, this narration throughout is both annoying, boring, and confusing. So it really doesn't help the story, and it's sprinkled throughout, as you can see. I'm just going to kind of turn through it so you can kind of see the art. We've already gone through this. And they also did like this little emoji here, which I thought kind of, okay, this is a mistake to buy this. But oh well, yeah, only death is eternal. Okay, so that's your key word there, your key. It is dedicated, I guess, to Jack Kirby, who did come up with a lot of these characters, and there's many characters, a huge roster that they've added over the decades as well. And as you can see, the art is just really nice, really spectacular. They introduced, this is Icarus here, this guy, and this is Zuras, I believe his name is, and he shows up at the very end again. This is something called Sprite. It's supposed to be a woman, and I'm not sure how they got that to be a woman, but it looks mostly like a young man throughout. So that's Sprite. Sprite's kind of a playful dude, or dudette, I guess. I'm just going to kind of show you the art without going through the story, because the story starts in South Pole. It goes over to New York, and this is when they've been out of commission for a while. They discover New York's really changed. It's this different place. They're having small experiences here. Nothing too grandiose. And then Iron Man shows up, and we also have a memoriam for Mike Hobson. I wasn't really too familiar with him, but I think he was one of the major guys when they were during late 70s, early 80s. That was really key in getting Marvel really going. Okay, we got Iron Man arrives in New York, and this was probably the part I liked the best, was just the talking between Iron Man and Icarus. Again, we have all this narration that doesn't really add to the story as much. Sprite gets a little bit more likable as the story goes on. At first, he's kind of annoying, or she is. I always call him he. It looks like a he to me. And finally, they get down. Nothing's really happened that much, and they finally go down into the sewers, and they find what they call I believe it's a deviant. So they have the Eternals and the Deviants, and this is one of the Deviants. He's got a tourist in its clutches, and Icarus proceeds to fight him to free the guy. And just, yeah, this narration just really bothered me. It was just not that good. So it kind of talks about the worst part of things that have changed is the paperwork. You know, it's like, I guess they had to report to the police what happened. So it makes no sense, because you think there'd be a bigger deal going on. There's a joke about hot dogs and Taifu. Then they go back to Olympia through one of the portals, and they find out from Phatos, I think his name is, or Phantos, there's the name there, that Zuras has been killed, and that his head has been crushed. But they expect him to be resurrected because everybody else has been resurrected in the meantime, so he doesn't have to wait in line, apparently. And the person, they said, had to have enormous strength, and we find out the only Eternal that I is really familiar with, and probably most of the general public that did this, is a character we know as... He lives on Titanos. That's the first clue, as they go to Titanos to look for everybody's favorite Thanos. And it's to be continued. So, not a lot going on. Great art. Also want to mention there was 35 variant covers on this. I mean, my comic store carried a lot of them. I mean, it took up like half the shelves, the way that he displays them. So here's a few of them. There's a lot more than this. Obviously, this is only about 16 here. And here's the cover for the next time. Thanos is obviously the main draw here. And I'm assuming the Eternals movie will feature Thanos prominently. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this this review. I know I'm going to get a lot of dislikes because everybody, when I do a Marvel and I don't recommend it, I get a lot of dislikes. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on this time. But that's just my opinion. Maybe you'll like it more. I just didn't really see uh, the expenditure put into this for what we got out of the story so far. And I will stick around for the second issue to see if it picks up. This was a very slow week. I only picked up 3 comics. Last week I only picked up 2, I think. So I'll do my best I can. I've also got a Thor and Venom 32. King in Black Venom 32. So we'll see how those two go as well. Thor number 10. And I want to thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe, please like, please leave comments. And as always, this is Indie Comics Jones from the Temple of Tomes. Thank you for stopping by. I bid you adieu.